We're going to be talking about why the rich suck. All right? And then, you know what, you're gonna love this video, so make sure to watch the entire video. No spoilers, but it's just gonna be dynamite, all right? This is Jamie Lewis. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to jump into the comments. I'll meet you right there, and make sure to like the video. All right, let's jump into it. So it'd be literally impossible for you to get rich unless you inherit the money, you steal the money, or you win the money. Everyone that you see that is successful, they either inherited, stole, or won the money. Then all the hard workers are forced to work for slave wages that don't even pay for a place to live. People have to share an apartment with 2 or 3 other people just to be able to afford the basics. You know, to make matters worse, rich people, they don't contribute to society because they have loopholes. Well, the solution is to raise the tax rate to 90%. If you make over a certain amount of money, for instance, $500,000, the money over that, $500,000, would be taxed at 90%, so it's totally reasonable. Say you make $3 million, well, you would really make $750,000. Now look, everything that I just said was bullshit, all right? Bullshit? You might have liked the idea. Maybe I'm on your side if you're struggling, but look, jealousy is the world's worst financial advisor. It'll have you investing in bitterness with 0 return. You've got to shift gears in your head, my friend, from communal bicycles to full throttle capitalism. All right? That's if you want to be revving the engine on a shiny new ride. After all, success isn't potluck dinner, okay? Where everyone brings a dish. It's more like a gourmet meal that you cook up yourself. One where the secret ingredient is a dash of ambition and a sprinkle of hustle. So if you're dreaming of leather seats and that new car smell, it's time to trade in the hammer and sickle for a steering wheel and a gas pedal and drive your mindset down the fast lane to Success Town, all right? Look, I think the better solution is to help people who are struggling, not hurt the people that aren't struggling. That makes sense, right? And I think it's a hell of a lot easier to spread this message to attempt to help people who are struggling than to hurt people who aren't struggling. I think it's easier. So which direction or path do you want to take? Hurting people or helping people? And remember, failure not to pay taxes is punishable by violence. Look it up. Do IRS agents have weapons? Well, the CI agents that work for the IRS, they carry 9mm firearms. So don't tell me that hurting people is going to help other people. There's 1% versus 99%. All right, so if we hurt the 1%, that'll help the 99%. Well, here's the most ironic element of this entire thing. The 1% is being taxed close to 50% of their money already. Sure, there are loopholes, but if you want to buy a $50 million house, you're not getting a tax deduction for that. All right, you're essentially paying yourself $50 million, and that's taxable income. The rich pay a lot of taxes, and have any of those tax dollars fixed our problems? I think not. So, you know what? It's a matter of allocation. Now, I educate folks as to how to start their own businesses. At least the very minimum explain that inheriting, cheating, or winning are not the only ways to build a business or make good money, obviously. You know, you gotta admit this is what people are alluding to. This is what a lot of people believe it or not. The options that people are given are college, military, or a minimum wage job while they're still teenagers. Get them while they're young and, not experienced enough to understand what is going to happen to them. I mean, no offense, but that's just the way it is. You look back and you realize you'd been lied to in so many different ways. I mean, I was a teenager once. You were used and you were spit out and you were given enormous debts for nothing, for a major that you will certainly not spend time in later, okay? Because your mind as an 18-year-old is still developing and you haven't experienced stuff yet or figured out your true talents. How many people who attended college right now as an adult make money with what they studied in college? Very low percentage. Look it up. And look up the statistics of how many people changed majors. You know why the youth are taught to hate the rich and to hate successful people? And why they were taught to believe that the rich either inherited, won, or stole their money? You guessed it, to justify taxation. Do you know that our society would essentially be the same without federal taxation? Did you know that? Because everything good that you see the government does is on the state or the city level, and the state taxes pay for that. So federal taxation makes it very difficult to reinvest the money back into your business, scale, and grow your business. It allows the monopolies to thrive, so the smaller guys, they can't grow. Think about it. There's an incentive to essentially clean out your accounts by the end of the year to avoid being taxed 38% corporate taxes, right? So either you're going to pay yourself or you're going to pay a service or employees ahead of time in a lump sum by December. Get more expenses, right? So you can write it off and save on taxes. That's just the right timing to do it. So think about it. If you're really wanting to scale and grow a company, this might be why societies that have low taxes, they also coincidentally have very healthy economies and grow extremely fast. Like, you know, how Dubai was able to become the city it is in only 2 decades, in an incredibly short amount of time. So my message is really not to hate and hurt anyone, but to love and help. Rich people aren't the reason why you're living in a 1-bedroom apartment, obviously, with 2 other dirty hippies. And in fact, when someone does speak up and talks this way, you hate it, right? You and 99 other people out there, they're gonna hate hearing it because the truth hurts, right? So the comments, for instance, yeah, right, that's why there's slaves, or people have been exploited for centuries, or these types of things that you hear. Even saying that, you know, I'd rather help folks who are being exploited that haven't been given education or the resources, I'm still gonna be met with a buttload of resistance. Because it's painful to think that you're wrong, or you lacking having the experience in turning an idea into a business. You don't need a bank loan to turn an idea into a business, my friend. And you don't need a Harvard education to turn an idea into a business. You just need a PayPal account and an Instagram account, to be honest. And all these things you can get for free. But you rather take it out on folks who run companies and you're angry at them because they only pay 50% taxes, not 90% taxes, personally, right? So that makes so much sense. I mean, sure, make it 90%. And they're going to move to another country then. I debated with this one guy online and he says, let them move then. Well, then we're losing all that tax revenue, you know what I mean? And then some other country's going to get it. Probably less though. Our tax rate is crazy here. It might be voluntary to work for these giant companies that don't pay so well, right? It's up to you if you want to work with them. You're volunteering to work for them, but for the business owner, they're also volunteering to live in this country. So, you know, if it's not working for you anymore and they pass a bill constitutionally to tax you 90%, you don't need to live here. You can move to Dubai. So living your life being upset at people who started a franchise, sure, yeah, all right. Because of the demand. You got 2 million customers, and those customers paid $100 million in your corporate bank account. You pay yourself $20 million. You get a big house. Look, you don't need to spend money. You don't need college debt. You don't need to be thinking that way. Hate me all you want, but nothing is gonna happen. You're just sitting there being angry at someone all day or being angry at the rich because they sold a bunch of shit. Doesn't help you or help anyone else. All right? And you still haven't been able to fix your problem in 50 years, right? You and others have literally been protesting out of jealousy, and you know why we aren't able to fix it? Because it doesn't make any sense. You're complaining about people who pay enormous amounts of money in taxes, not paying enough tax. How ridiculous is that shit? What do you want to do with the money? Do you have a plan or an idea of where you want the 90% taxes to go? Usually when you're demanding that someone pay a lot of money, there's a specific reason. The 1% has more money than the bottom 99%. Okay, well fix the problem. Clutching on to a share the wealth mindset won't put the keys to that luxury car in your pocket. It's like it's expecting a limousine to show up when you've only paid for a bus ticket. Being broke because of bad decisions is like being a chef who only knows how to burn toast, watching Gordon Ramsay on TV and wondering why you're not Michelin starred. Envy is the cologne of the unsuccessful, splashed on so thick it chokes out the scent of their own potential. Blaming others for your empty pockets is like a gambler blaming the cards. Some folks treat their finances like a game of hot potato, tossing around responsibility until they're left holding the charred remains of their bank account. Watching successful people with envy is like sitting on a seesaw alone. You're not going anywhere, and you look a little silly. If poor choices were a currency, some people would be billionaires living in the Forbes 500 of regret. Being broke and blaming the successful is like a pirate with a leaky boat cursing the sea. Maybe it's time to fix the ship instead of shouting at the waves. Thank you very much. This is Jamie Lewis. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe.